the hardest questions that we get is what is your favorite place to go sailing? Ah, because we love them all. So today we're going to talk about what we love about sailing in the Bahamas. So if you're new to the What Could Go Right podcast, I'm Emily Orton.
And I am Eric Orton.
We sailed for a year with our family in 2014, and then we wrote a book about it called Seven at Sea. And we hope to inspire you to consider living a little more boldly, maybe come sailing with us. And our hope with this episode is just to help you move from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time. So let's talk about what we're doing right now, and then we'll talk about the Bahamas.
Okay, yeah. So we are trying something new. Normally, we would kind of say at the very beginning of the podcast, and then we'd say, "Hey, Ethan, you can go ahead and drop the intro in right there." So Emily just kind of like recapped the intro. So Ethan, we're not sure if talking to our editor now, not sure if we're going to just let this roll out as one complete file or if we're going to actually do some of the dropping in like we have in the past. But we're doing a live stream for the first time, which we said, oh, that might be fun. Last night, I think we said, oh, we should maybe try that sometime. And we're like, let's just try it.
Let's just try it.
And so you may be commenting or joining in, and we have no idea how to see that or know that. So if you're there and you're saying anything, forgive us. We're not trying to ignore you. We're just doing something new. And okay, Emily's getting out her laptop and she's going to look there. Anyway, we don't know if this is, and we may do more of this, we may not, but we're just trying it for today. So if you're joining us live, and like I say, if we're not responsive, please forgive us. And but we will package this up and put it up as a podcast episode. So if you're listening to this and you didn't listen or watch it live, totally fine. You're right where you need to be.
And I want to say this is totally par for the course. Our company is called The Awesome Factory. Our podcast is the What Could Go Right podcast, and our trips are navigator sailing trips. But this is totally par for the course that we are always inviting you to do things that we are also willing to try. Like when we say get out of your comfort zone, try something new, like you don't have, it doesn't have to be the perfect circumstances. Just take a small step. And sometimes those small steps are the shakiest, scariest steps of all. We also live that way. And this is an example of us doing that.
We're not afraid to face plant. So, okay. All right. So Emily is actually tuning into our live cat.
I'm going to turn off the sound. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So that's what we look like live. Ta-da.
Okay.
All right. Well, so back to the Bahamas. Let's just talk about the Bahamas. That might be distracting to me.
Okay. Do not look over here.
Okay. I will not look
I'll
over
turn
there.
it this direction.
I will not look over there. All right. So we're going to talk about the Bahamas today.
Yes. So I want to start out talking about the Bahamas by sharing that people always also love to ask our kids, like, where were some of your favorite places, or a superlative, like where was your one favorite place of everywhere that you sailed in the year that you lived on a sailboat. And Lily is always very calm. What she was 6 years old at the time, and she was quite short.
We should have, I wish she was here to help us record this.
And what she loved about the Bahamas is that the water was shallow, anchored. The whole family decided, hey, before we go meet up with a group or hang out with people again in our family. And so we tucked into a place called Hog Key, I believe.
That is correct.
And just step off the boat and walk to shore. And Lily was a beginner swimmer at the time. And so she just loved that everywhere there was shallow, warm water and sandy beaches. And she felt like she had so much freedom to roam without us stressing out.
It was
Shallow water.
It was great, and it's all sand, all sand.
Oh, so nice. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'll dive in here, I guess pun intended, and say what makes the Bahamas unique. People, yeah, as Emily was saying, people always say, "What's your favorite place?" And we only go to places that we enjoy. And we only go back to places that we enjoy. And the truth is, we enjoy them each for different reasons. And I'll just begin by describing. Some of you may have already been to the Bahamas. Many of you presumably have not. The Bahamas are a short, or not short, but flat chain of islands, coral reef islands off the coast of South Florida. And they extend most of the way down south towards the Turks and Caicos. And then there's a little bit of a hop, and then you're in Puerto Rico. So the thing that makes the Bahamas unique is that there's a big shelf underneath the ocean surface, and it's the Bahamian plateau that barely stick up above the water. And all around the Bahamas, it's deep, super, super deep water. Between the Bahamas and Florida, it's super deep. And then around them, it's deep. But it's just this big underwater plateau. And the islands are these top of the table, sort of, so to speak. And so what makes them unique is that they're very flat. And as you sail, you have wind coming. We've talked about the trade winds in other episodes, and the trade winds blow from the east. They come across from Africa, across the Sahara Desert, and they continue across the ocean, and you can build up a pretty big swell. And so if you're sailing in that swell, the boat is moving big undulations, and it can get pretty rolly, as we say. The nice thing about the Bahamas is that we can sail on the back side of them. So all the waves hit on the east side of the Bahamas, take all the swell. But because these islands are flat, the wind will keep going right over the top of them, and the islands absorb all the swell. So we will most often sail on the west side of the Bahamas, where the water is quite flat, but the wind is spectacular. And so you have relatively flat water and good wind. And the most unique thing about the Bahamas is, as Emily pointed out, how shallow it is. We will go sailing for a week, and the water depth will never get above 30 feet. And most of the time it will be between 15 and 20 feet. And the boat needs a minimum 3.5, 4 feet, I would say 4 feet of depth, water depth, to move before it starts touching bottom. And very often we will anchor in 5 feet of water. So to Emily's point, it's very easy to just hop out of the boat, and it is not uncommon to be able to touch bottom just being right around the boat. I see you looking stuff up and clacking over there. I can keep talking, obviously.
I'm just trying to figure it out. We have a couple of people watching, and I'm trying to figure out how to interact with them. So,
okay.
Anyway.
So if you're interacting, just know we see you. We just haven't figured out how to respond.
We're new here.
Who's there? Can you see?
I can't tell.
All right. Well, we'll figure this out. But thanks for being here, those of you that are here. And sorry, we don't have this all dialed in yet. But like I say, we're just trying something new. So, did you have something you wanted to bring up?
Oh, just I think you really hit it bang on the head that one of the things is so great about it is that because the islands are so flat, you can have protected water but still get all of the wind. And that's one of the things that makes it amazing. What can you tell us about, obviously that makes it ideal conditions for stand-up paddleboard. What can you tell us about the snorkeling? I'll just ask one question at a time.
Yeah. Well, actually, why don't I talk about the general route for the week, and that will lead us to some spots that will be specific for snorkeling.
Okay, perfect. So this is if you're heading out of Nassau.
Yeah, so we have typically sailed out of Nassau, which is a really big cruise ship hub. Lots of flights go in and out of there.
There's resorts in
Nassau. There's resorts and hotels, and it's a fully industrialized island. And there's casinos and all that sort of stuff. and we have mostly done our trips out of Nassau. This year, we're going to add the Abacos, which are the northern Bahamas. But today, we're just going to talk about trips that originate out of Nassau and head over to the Exumas. And the Exumas are a chain of narrow, teeny islands that just work down from east of Nassau down towards, like I was saying, down towards the Turks and Caicos. And so we'll pick up a boat in Nassau and we'll do a crossing. It's usually about 5 hours. It's the big jump for the week. We'll sail out of Nassau and sail across to the Exuma chain.
And what is that sail like? Maybe you can tell us what that is. Is it upwind? Is it downwind? Is it?
Usually it's upwind.
Okay.
Because we're heading east, southeast. And so to be totally honest, it's usually we're motoring because we're heading into the wind. And so it's not like the most glorious sailing day, but it's your first day out on the water. It's just a big, huge expanse. We sail past this one spot called Yellowbank, which is a shallow spot kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And we've seen sharks hunting out there before. It's a great spot to go fishing just because, again, just a shallow spot. Again, the water's only 30 feet deep, but it literally comes up to like 2 or 3 feet deep. And so we have to, the reason I know it is because we have to avoid it. We have to not run into the reefs that are there.
But that's pretty exciting on your first day when you're coming onto the boat and you're meeting a new group and you've all gone out to dinner the night before. And then you're like, okay, guys, this is it. You wake up in the morning and you're like, we're on a sailboat. And this is probably the most fun time to do an upwind sail because you're new to everything. And what you've seen in movies and on TV is the wind in your face and maybe like water splashing towards the boat as you cut through it, and maybe the waves rolling across the bow and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's a good day for it. And then after you go through and say, like, we've had this glorious week in the Bahamas, but you arrive, everyone's like, we just did that together, and you're listening to your fun music and having your lunch. And then that's nice. You can tell it's on the way back. Then it's going to be a gorgeous downwind sail, and you'll be like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, and the winds, the direction of the winds in the Bahamas are pretty steady. They're not as consistent necessarily as the Caribbean. And so sometimes it will come from northeast, east, southeast. And so it does, the point, what I call the point of sail, does shift a little bit, but generally we'll be motoring over to the Exumas. And it's a great day to just be out on the water and enjoy and kind of get used to being on the boat. And then we get to the Exumas, and we'll usually go to a place called I got to zoom in and out of my map here. I want to say Leaf Key. I shouldn't have said that. I was going to, loading fast enough. Allen Key. We usually will make it to Allen Key or Highborn Key, and just a great little anchorage. There's beautiful, teeny little tucked away beaches, and the Bahamas is all about white sandy beaches. A lot of places that we go have beaches and they're lovely, but the Bahamas, they're like white powder sand beaches.
We have this one picture of our family. We were just all hanging out on a beach one night, and I think Lily had taken off her swimsuit. Nobody else was even around, and she was only 6 years old, and she was so covered in sand, just like in that powder. It's so fine that it looked like she was wearing,
looked like she was clothed,
like she was wearing a swimsuit, because it was just this like super fine powder that
she was like a donut rolled in powdered
like a
sugar.
donut, exactly. And anyway, like, just, it will ruin you. It will ruin you. For
any other
beaches.
beach, any other beach after these trips will be a drag, will be a letdown. Just kidding. So we'll go to, there's some cool iguanas there. You can see these ancient iguanas that will just sun out on the beach.
Like bearded.
Yeah, they got, they're, I guess, I don't know what they call that, like bearded dragons.
I remember some of the wildlife that I saw when I was in the Bahamas last time was just like sitting in the shallowest part where the water ripples up onto shore, just have my legs covered and like a stingray just like swimming by over my toes. And um, then when we were anchored, just like a couple of dolphins just playing in the anchorage and
Yeah,
just really, yeah,
it's pretty
really
magical.
sweet.
Yeah, there's fantastic sea life. And so, we'll get to Allen Key and drop anchor. And it's been a pretty full day at that point because we've been underway for quite a few hours. And then we'll usually head south because all the good stuff is, anyway, south is the direction that makes the most sense. And the thing I love as a captain about the Bahamas is that anchoring is so easy. You just need to know how deep the water is. You drop the anchor and it's going to be a sandy bottom.
Oh yeah.
If you listen, we did an episode recently about the conditions to anchor in.
Yeah.
And you always want sand or grass.
I think it's episode 123, anchoring stable or versus stuck.
Yeah.
And yeah, sandy.
And so the Bahamas are great because it's just sand. Every now and then you'll get some grass. It's pretty hard to find rocks. And if there are rocks, you're really just trying to avoid hitting them. I would say as a skipper, I'm always zooming in super, super close because the water is so shallow that any little rock, we need to go between it, around it, but not through it because
you can't go through it.
Well, you'll bang into it, but everywhere else is sand. And so, yeah, there's just beautiful sea life. And I'm getting back to your question about snorkeling.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, the best thing about the Bahamas is the water is warm.
It is so nice. Yeah, I just want to validate, like, it can't be overstated how lovely it is that the water is warm. You never step in and say, "Whoo, refreshing," and then keep going and get over it.
Yeah, it's not Norway.
It's just easy.
So the water is warm and the water is clear. There's really great visibility. And one place I love to go is called Shroud Key. It's part of a national park. We'll usually sail down into these national park islands. And the Exumas are quite remote. Unlike Nassau, which is hotels, resorts, casinos, cruise ships, when you get to the Exumas, it's pretty hard to find a restaurant. There's only a couple of marinas, and even those are very quiet, very sleepy. And so it's remote, and I like that. You have beautiful light or like dark skies at night to see the stars.
Yeah.
And there isn't a lot that's gonna dirty the water. I always joke with, everyone gets to Nassau and some people get their day early and they'll stay someplace and like, oh yeah, we were on this little bungalow and we went to the beach and it was so pretty. And then they get to the Exumas and they're like, oh, I had no idea. I thought the beach in Nassau was nice. And then they get out to the Exumas. And so,
oh, that's a great comment. What are some other things that people notice?
I think that it's, what do people notice?
Like, yeah, when they come on the trip to the Bahamas with you, what are they amazed by? Like, obviously, I thought Nassau had nice beaches, but now we're out here in these.
One place that I like to go is a thing called the Lazy River in Shroud Key. And it's a lazy river in the sense that, like in an amusement park or a water park, you get in and the current just takes you. And this is a natural marshy river that goes inland into Shroud Key. It actually cuts through the whole island over to the other side, which is the ocean side, which, as I was saying earlier, is where you have the swell coming in. And so it's a little bit tidal. There's a tide that, at a certain time of day, the water's flowing one way, and at the other side of the other time of day, it's flowing the other way.
Yeah.
So sometimes it works out that we get in and we flow with the river going in and the river coming out. But either way, you get in there and there are turtles for sure. And it turns into a little game of
spot the turtle.
And you can just, you can turn the outboard on and the dinghy and just sort of zip your way up there. But I find that there's kind of a reverence that settles in once we get there, because we'll have a couple of paddle boards and we'll have the dinghy, and it's shallow enough that in some places you can really walk. It's like up to your waist. And we just find that we don't want to turn the engine on. It's so quiet and peaceful that we'll just, like, sometimes I'll hop out and I'll tie a line around my waist and I'll just pull the dinghy in it. I'll pull the dinghy behind me. And so everybody that's just floating in it can get sort of gondoliered up the river, or some, we have a couple people on paddle boards, and some people just snorkel their way up and slowly wind our way up what we call the lazy river. And it's just completely untouched, and kind of in some ways stark and barren, because the tide will go out, and then it's just sort of like these mineral deposit fields that are orange and tan with big stripes of red. And it's a little bit like Yellowstone and the Caribbean having a baby, it's like.
Very cool. I haven't been to Shroud Key. I've seen pictures of the lazy river, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like this is one of those places on the planet where the pictures just don't do it justice to really being like, if you went there, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I saw a picture of this. It's exactly what I thought. Like, it would still be like, whoa, in person. Wow.
Well, yeah, in person, it's a 360 experience, and it's visual, but also tactile. And so the pictures can give you a sense of the colors, but you're not there's like an aroma that comes off of the mangrove roots and the water and the mineral deposits. And so there's a smell to it that makes it unique. And then the temperature of the water. And then the fun thing is that it ends up in this big basin on the other side where it faces the ocean, and you can see the winds come, or the waves come crashing in. But there's a big sand barrier that has been deposited out there by the river. And so there's a break, and the water comes over these sandbars, and it literally will be ankle deep. Sometimes the sandbars are above the water depending on the tide. And so there's just this sort of big field of sand and water that you can walk around, and you find little divots, and you can sit down in it, and it's like hanging out in a bathtub. And there's also a little hill you can climb up, and by a hill, I mean, maybe you gain maybe 75, 80 feet of elevation, but it gives you enough, because everything is so flat, you're at the highest point, and you have this beautiful, being up 70 feet, you have this beautiful 360 view of the ocean and the inside channel and the river. And it's just fun. It's just fun.
Yeah.
And then you just make your way back to the boat. So that's one of my favorite spots to go to.
Yeah. What else? Where would you go after that?
We keep working our way down the chain, and there's a place, I need to get my names right. So we just talked about Norman Key.
No, we talked about Shroud Key.
Okay, maybe. Okay, so Norman Key is.
There's also in the British Virgin Islands an island called Norman Island, but this is Norman's Key in the Bahamas.
Okay, yeah. So Norman's Key in the Bahamas, there's a really fun snorkel spot. I love to see ocean sea life just as much as anybody else, but this one is cool because there's a plane wreck, and it's in super shallow water. And the legend is that it's well, we know that it was a plane that belonged to the drug lord Pablo Escobar, and it ended up wrecking on some drug delivery, and the drugs were never found, but the plane is still there. And the cool thing is that it's in shallow water, so that you can literally, like, if you want to, you can stand on a wing of the plane and sort of still have, waist deep in water.
You can snorkel this.
You can definitely snorkel it. Like, you can see it just from, we can anchor the boat right next to it, and you can see
there's the
plane, and you can go swim around it. And it's a great sort of introductory snorkel. The only thing that can make it a little bit challenging, and not always, is it's in an area where there's a pretty strong current. And so you have to just be aware that the water is going to be moving you, and factor that, especially if you're swimming to and from the boat directly. But we can also take a dinghy out there and just drop it off, or, people can jump out of the dinghy and snorkel. And so
you don't have to swim against the current.
Yeah. And the fun thing about the Bahamas is that as we go down the chain, it's like, hey, there's a cool little island. There's a sandbar. And at any point we can just stop the boat and go and explore it. And
Oh, you guys want to check that out? Let's go over there.
yeah, let's just go check that out. And it might be nothing. It may not even have a name. I mean, somebody probably named it at some point, but it's so small
It's not on the
that
map.
it's not even on the map. And you just go from, there's just so much water that's like chest deep, waist deep, knee deep, ankle deep, and white beaches that are just acres of sand that will then disappear when the tide comes in, and they'll be under a foot of water. And so it's a constantly changing environment that every trip is different. It depends on where you go, which time of day, how that lines up with the tide, with the weather. And so it's an ever moving, it's a living palette, I guess you could
Oh,
say.
I love that, living palette. And it reminds me that you took a private trip to the Bahamas that was all focused on watercolor. And
Oh,
if
yeah.
that is something that you love to do, this would be a great place to bring your kit.
I'm going to go get my,
Because we're
for
live.
for
we're
those
just
that are
gonna
watching.
run and get his watercolors that he made in the Bahamas. And I also want to say about that plane wreck in Shroud Key that you can snorkel. It's not just the airplane, like it's also fish. I haven't been to this location personally yet. That's why I'm asking him all of the questions, because what we did spend a lot of time in the Exumas, but there are so many islands and it's ever changing, like you mentioned,
800.
that there's no way we'd have to just still be there if we wanted to explore everything. And we were there 11 years ago. So anyway, there's plenty to explore. So great. Oh, this is awesome.
So this was my first painting. I want to shout out my friend Jenna Parkin. She teaches watercolor painting at the University of Utah. And
No, Utah Valley.
sorry,
University.
Utah Valley University. Correct.
Yeah.
UVU. And so she put together palettes for all of us.
Here,
and-
all of this. Will you get your palette? Or,
I guess I'll pull this out. It
What else do
it
you
might have
have?
dried up at this point, but she
No.
created. Oh, I have no idea what
This
it
one's
looks like.
just a sketch.
Here it says Captain Eric.
It's
I can hear it cracking around in there. So these are all. dried up.
almost better to like paint pictures of the Bahamas than to take pictures, because I don't know. People are always like, but is that really the color? Like, yes. I don't
No, if
know.
we
Here
go
you
in-
get a better.
See if I can get the light on the camera. There we
Oh,
go.
there it is.
So you can see this one, and I'll go back to these here
Oh, I showed them.
so I can get them close with the light adjusted. So this is beginner artwork. I'm not an accomplished watercolor painter, but it was just really fun and beautiful. And so at sunset and sunrise each day, we would
Can you
paint.
show this one?
No, I
This
actually
is one of
didn't.
my favorites.
Mine too. So this is actually
Beginner. I don't know.
this
I
is
couldn't
Alan.
do that,
This is
but-
Alan Key, if you're curious, facing south. So now you know what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. So
Exactly
if
like
you're
it looks
just-
exactly like
If you're
that.
just listening, you'll have to come check out the YouTube replay.
So anyway, yeah, and depending on how many miles we want to put under the keel, there's caves that we can snorkel into. There's just endless beaches, like endless is what it feels like.
I think we should talk about the pigs.
The pigs. Okay, let's talk about the pigs. What do you want to say about the pigs?
Well, I saw a lot of travel magazines that had pictures of these Bahamian pigs and how they would just like swim out to your boat and you could drop food over the side and they'd eat the food. And it was like it is a lot of beaches. It's a lot of beach. And after a while, you might be like, well, there's another beach.
I've seen enough beaches.
I know. It took
can get beached out.
It took us several months before we were like, oh, there's another beach. That didn't happen to us in a 1 week period, but a lot of people go to see these pigs, and our experience did not look magical, but it was adventurous. And we took all the kids, we beached the dinghy up on the shore. We brought some leftover oatmeal. Our kids were so tired of eating oatmeal for breakfast. They're like, maybe I'll feed it to the pigs.
Get rid of it.
And old pigs. Did we have any more? and they started like gnawing on the rope for our dinghy, and the little kids got really scared, and
The pigs kind of attacked us.
they kind of like came after
They were like
us.
a gang of pigs.
They're like, "Hey, where's our food? We want more food."
They were extorting us.
So we got everybody back.
They were
in the dinghy,
exnorting us.
exnorting us. Yeah.
Yes.
So good one. Let's take a moment and appreciate that joke. Anyway, it was not the magazine, like the glossy travel magazine experience that we had expected it to be. We're just like, oh my gosh, these like halfway domesticated gang of pigs are chasing us, chasing our kids, trying to eat our dinghy, and also leaving like massive turds in the water. We're like, this is not glamorous. We have to get out of here.
I'll just say this.
But it was still fun to go see them.
Yeah, if you want to read our firsthand account of our experience with the pigs, it's in 7 at Sea. I believe so. Is that right?
Yes.
I'll just say this. On all of our trips to the Bahamas since then, I've never taken a group to see the pigs.
But if you want to see them.
But if there's like a majority vote of people that want to do it, we can see the pigs. I just want you to be forewarned.
If you could just stay in your boat.
Yeah, I will take pictures of you from a distance.
Anyway, if you have also if you're here listening about sailing or hearing about the trips that we take or the adventures that we go on, it's quite possible you have also heard of these pigs or seen pictures of them in the really glossy travel magazines. And anyway, we probably wouldn't give them a 5-star review, but it really was a great story, and I'm glad we saw for ourselves.
And I'm going to switch gears from animals and sea life to actual sailing. One of the things that people always say, how fast can these boats go? And I will let you know that I've sailed slow in the Bahamas, and I've sailed very fast in the Bahamas. And in fact, the fastest we ever sailed our own sailboat was in the Bahamas. And it was 14 knots of boat speed, and it was overnight, and we were crossing from, I forget where, to a place called Long Island. And so the conditions, and I haven't quite sailed that fast on any other cat since then. I've sailed very fast in other places like Croatia most recently, but the sailing can be really fantastic. Not every day, I'm not going to make promises that every day is going to be an incredible sailing day, because the weather, like I said, the conditions change daily, weekly, so on. But we always try to go at prime time. And so the chances of getting in some really good sailing are really good.
I want to say something about being slow, because we just sent an email out, or we're sending an email out tomorrow. And I have this quote from Pico Iyer, The Art of Stillness, Adventures in Going Nowhere. When you're talking about speed, you could catch some speed given the conditions in the Bahamas. And also, he says, in an age of speed, I began to think nothing could be more invigorating than going slow. In an age of distraction, nothing can feel more luxurious than paying attention. And in an age of constant movement, nothing is more urgent than sitting still. And I think that's one of the luxuries, the invigorating luxuries that you can really experience, like you said, in a 360 way in the Bahamas. Because most of these places you're talking about, there are not crowds.
No,
it's
very hard to find a crowd in the Exumas. And
that might be just what you're looking for.
And just to be clear, when I say the boat's going fast,
I know 14 knots.
10 knots is going to be roughly 11 miles an hour. I think I'm doing the math right.
Like you've probably gone faster on a bicycle.
Yeah, like when I say really fast speeds, it's slower than a bicycle. So even the fast stuff, slow. And we can go even slower.
But it feels so good because your whole body's in the wind, and the sail is full, and it's like, woohoo! And there's a lot of woohoo factor.
Yeah, there's a lot of woohoo, and you're moving your house at that speed. The home that we're living in for the week, with our bedrooms, our kitchen, our bathrooms. Imagine your house moving through across anything at 10 miles an hour. That's a very fast moving house.
And then imagine it moving across a turquoise water.
Okay, speaking of the color, and I think I will wrap here unless you have
Yeah.
other things you want to say. My friend Jana, who brought us out and taught us watercoloring, she lives and breathes color and names of color. And she got to the Bahamas and she just said, I've never seen water like this. I've never seen these colors with my actual eye. And she says, I always thought the pictures were photoshopped or enhanced. And she's like, it's just unreal, the colors that you get to see with your eyes, with your naked eyes. And coming from somebody who has spent a lot of time looking at colors, observing colors, naming colors, recreating colors, to have her say that, I mean, I love it. We only go back because I love it. But to hear her talk about it that way was really validating, and I could say eye-opening, but I won't. But also, I would just say kind of like it added to my appreciation, because somebody who has seen and experienced so much, appreciated so much, it helped me realize what I was having the privilege of witnessing. So that was one of the many, many things that went right on that trip.
Yeah, and one of the many things that we love about sailing in the Bahamas and the Exumas specifically. So I guess I do have a question for you, and that is, this episode is, we're recording this in 2025. When are you going to the Bahamas again?
We have a sold out trip there in December, but we're gonna be there in April. We're gonna do a trip to the Abacos, which is north of the Exumas, also gorgeous. And then we're going to be back in the Bahamas November of 2026.
In Nassau.
Sorry,
Okay.
the Exumas.
So the December 2026 trip is sold out.
But we'll be there in April, and April 13th through the 18th, and then we'll be back November 9th through the 14th of 2026.
All right. Well, you can always find us at theawesomefactory.nyc, as in New York City, where we started this company, theawesomefactory.nyc, and join our email list or poke around and see how you want to connect with us, or set up an appointment to chat with us about a trip if you might be interested in going to one of our beautiful locations, and especially if you've been inspired to come to the Bahamas. We would love to see you there. And we always end the episode asking you a question.
What could go right?
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming to our first live stream. Let's see if we can figure out how to end this.